welcome back to Basic Build 2. This is part 5. Yes, it is part 5. Now, before we go any further, quick rundown of what we actually achieved in the last video. I think it was all the timber work, floor. We got all that sorted out and finished off with. Now, in this video, it's going to be sort of a few bits and pieces. To start off with, I'd like to actually get these bits on the corners done, which actually cover the end of the fascia and the soffit. So we're going to be building these, getting them finished off, and also I want to get the whole lot inside and outside grouted up. So we'll be getting them done first, then getting it all grouted up, because the simple reason is I need to start adding bits to it. And if we go right the way around to the back, I'll probably have to pull the camera out a little bit. Pull the camera back a little bit. I'd like to start building the stairs. Now, I've already made a mock-up of roughly in which direction I'm going with the stairs. This is not the finished item, believe me. So I want to actually build stairs down to a landing, then down to the ground floor. So that's going to be in the video as well. I want to get that in and done as well, but this needs to be fixed to this wall. So that's the reason why I want everything grouted up, because I'm not going to be able to actually lay the building on its end because of this set of stairs. So I'm going to get it all grouted up first, and then we'll get on with the stairs. So on that little note, we'll get on and we'll get these corners started. Now we're going to start with this corner, and what I'm trying to achieve here is a thing called a corbel course, and that is where the bricks actually step out. Now I'm going back to using these. These are the single piers that you get, the brick and a half, which I so desperately want to use some of them up, but they're going to be ideal to actually do this. Now if I can show you how I mean to make them up. Right, first one there. So we've actually got our first step of our bricks, and then we get another one like so. So we actually get this step up. This will actually be cut back. I'm going to be gluing 3 of them all together. Let me get it around the right way. We're going to be gluing 3 of them together, then cutting it along this line. But I'll go down to the bench and you can probably see a little bit more clearer how I'm assembling them. Now that's the piece I just assembled on the side of the building. It's the 3 pieces, and this is the actual corbel where it steps out. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to part them, and I'm just going to glue these 3 together in that step form. Now I'm going to assemble 4 altogether. I've already got opposite hand, put them together. One goes one side of the building and one goes the other. So what I'm going to do now, I'll get these all glued up and leave them to dry, and then I shall come back to you. Now my little piece has had a chance to dry off, and that's the bit. Now what we need to do is actually get it marked up for the right angle. So all I'm going to do for that is a small piece of balsa wood or any straight edged ruler, anything like that. Clamp that on like so, making sure that's in line with the gable. There we go. Then we're just going to put our piece in, and with a pencil we'll just mark down so now we've got the actual angle. I'll just put you on pause and I'll move things around and I'll show you what I'm going to do on the rest of it. Okay, we have our little piece marked up, and with my side cutters I'm just going to go along this edge and snip off these bits all the way along. We'll get them. Now, what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to come in on this point here. So I've got a flat piece and I'm going to join up with that angle. So I'm going to cut that with my little saw, wherever it is. This is going to be difficult to show you, but we might be able to do it. So there. And then I'm going to have to do this off camera. It's very, very difficult. But I'm going to use my saw. I'm going to cut down to there and across there. Now, I've cut my little piece off camera, thank goodness, because it's just getting it in the right position. So that's the actual shape that we've actually got. And that slots into there, like so. And hopefully you can see that. Let me try and turn things. There we go. So it actually follows the line of the gable down, because we'll be actually putting like a coping on this. So the first piece of the coping will sit flat and then the rest of it will sit against it. They used to do that just to stop the copings from sliding off actually. So what we need to do now that we've done that bit, we just need to back it up. So I shall put you on pause again and we'll get on with backing it up. Okay, backing it up. Now we're going to be working the opposite way. So if we align that piece up there, hope you can see what I'm doing, and take that piece off like so. So we're actually making that step up. Now I'm going to file all this down when I've finished, but this back edge here also needs to come off all the way along, like so. Well, actually all of it didn't really need to come off, but so that now, let me get that round the right way, Simon. That piece now is going to sit like that. So you've got the teeth that sit in there, and also we're now following the steps of the brick. And all I should do is find another piece like that that will sit in like so, and that will follow the course of the, well, it won't actually because we've got that one upside down, but we won't say anything about that. That one just doesn't want to fit in there. I'm going to find another one. There we go. So that will sit on top there like that. We'll do exactly the same, the third one, and just snip that back and glue that together so we've actually got our steps. Now I should get all them bits glued in, and then I should come back to you. So this bit's dry, and now what we've got to do, we've just got to cut it down and shape it up using your snips. Just very, very carefully go along. Just try and get rid of that bit first. Just go along and cut off all the bits like that. And now you've got it to that sort of stage. I'm afraid to say it's down to the file now, and just start cleaning everything up and getting it ready to be fitted. Now I'm not going to sit here and bore you by filing this down, so I'm going to get this filed, and I shall be back in a minute and we'll get it fitted. Okay, the last stage now. I've just filed it all down to make it all nice and neat. We've got the steps at the bottom. That will fit in there like that, if I can keep my big fingers out of the way. And there you go, we've got the step out for the fascias. Now I'm going to get these all glued in because I've got the rest of them done as well. So I'm going to get them all glued in, and I'll be back when I've done that. Right, I've got all the corbelling pieces all fitted in, and what I'm starting to do now is I'm starting to fill in the little gaps on the gable end with just little bits of brick, because it'd be easier to put them in now, sand them down flush, then do it later on. I've got both I've got them all in and done, both ends. I've started to do a little bit of sanding down. That's what I'm going to be doing now. I'm just going to be sanding the whole thing down, making sure everything looks right, ready for grouting. Once I've sanded it all down, I'll hit it with an airline, and you'll see all the joints are a lot better. So I'm going to get on with that. Then when I come back, we'll get on and we'll get the grouting done. Now, before I go any further, I want to give the whole, all the brickwork a quick coat of my 75-25 mix brown wash, just to try and put it all in together, so the brickwork does look all the same. So I'm going to give that one coat, and then we'll be back and we'll get on with the grouting. Now, it's had one coat of wash, which is dry, and we'll be giving it a couple more. It's still a bit patchy in places, but it's a lot better than it was. Now, grouting up, I'm going to start on the inside, and we're going to start on this bottom wall here. Now, what I've got is aluminium oxide. You can get this off eBay, very cheap. It's a shot blasting medium. It is really is, if you can see, really fine. Nothing too special about that. Also, what I've mixed up is a 50-50 mix of Vallejo matte acrylic varnish, and mix that 50-50 with the ultimate thinners. So just a 50-50 mix, and that is going to be my fixer. And it's very easy to do if we just get some, put it on like so, then with a brush we just work it around like so. It's a good idea to have some paper down, which I haven't got, but there you go. We are on a bench, a piece of wood, which I can get it off. So all we're doing is just pushing that all the way around, getting it all into the holes. Nothing too mad. Go into the corners, and then we just start pulling it off. All the way through. Now I'll go to my big brush and just very gently take off the surface. Now you can do this a couple of times if you miss bits. There's no big aggravation over it. I just like the finish with this, and also I've got tons of it, so it's best to get it used up. Right, once you've got it all into your joints, then it's a matter of just, when you find your paintbrush, is the acrylic varnish mixed with thinners, is just literally dab it on and let it soak in all the way through, and that's going to hold it all in place. Now you can use PVA if you really want. I just don't like the shiny finish, but that's my preference. You also can use the pigment fix, which I used to use, but it's very good stuff, but it starts working out really expensive when you start using quite a bit of it on bigger buildings. But I find the acrylic works just as well. So you get the idea. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to carry on and I'm going to do the whole lot, and I shall be back with you shortly. Now, gratting up has been done, but we're going to change the pace now, because how can I explain this? This build that you see now is no longer going to go any far forward. It is going to be put onto the shelf. Well, actually, it's going to be scrapped. And you're going to say, why? Why? Well, there's a lot of mistakes on this particular build, which I've made, which there's no excuse for. But it's actually wrecked the build. And it's no longer a showable build. It's more of a ram in the corner and not really take much notice of. Now, I've always been banging on about orientation of your panels and making sure everything is correct. And now this is a prime example of what it will look like if you don't get your panels and that round the right way. And just take a little bit of care as you're building. Now, I'll quickly go round and roughly show you what's going on, and then I'll get the camera in close and we'll have a real good look so you can understand. Now, the side with the actual hole cut away in, there's no issues there for me. I'm quite happy with that. I do have an issue with the far hand corner, but like I say, we'll get to that in a very few seconds. Moving round to the front gable. There is one big mega issue, and that's this section here, but we'll get to that and we'll have a closer look at that as well. And moving to the back, now the back wall has got a lot of issues. I've messed up here big time, so we'll have a closer look at that as well in a few seconds. And the far end gable, I've done mistakes on this as well. Now I want to show you these mistakes because I just want you to, as you're building, not do it, because when you've built everything and then you discover all the faults, and it's very sort of disheartening, especially if you spent a long time over your brickwork and that. So with that, we'll go back to the front gable, we'll have a closer look at that, and we'll run through what I've done wrong. So the first of my mistakes. Now, this is the front gable and this is the top half. Now, the first mistake is that I actually put a panel in upside down. So we've got two, we haven't got a brick joint, so we've actually got a dry joint that runs through right the way through there. Now, if that was just the only joint, we could actually do something with it. We could actually run a scribe down it, just open it up a little bit, grout it in, and it would disappear in. I know that. But I've put that one in upside down, and then I've decided to put these panels back in the correct orientation. And turning them over has then caused these dry joints between the actual teeth of the panel, which actually makes the panel stand out more. You can actually see that it's a panel, and the idea of the teething, well, the tooths, is so it looks seamless, and that doesn't look seamless. And because I've done that one, I've done that one, I've done that one, and it's totally wrecked that piece of brickwork there, and everything jumps out at you. Once you know it's there, it's full in your face. So it's a very, very stupid mistake that I've made, but I'm going to have to put things in place for the future so I don't actually do these mistakes again. So that's the gable. Now we'll move to the far wall. Now quickly on to the far wall. If you haven't noticed, but to kick off with, we've got two panels upside, well, the top facing the top, so we've got a very large bed joint right the way through, which in turn has made these panels, I've put these panels in the wrong way, and also it's thrown these ones out because I put these in the right way, and it's just made a total mess. It just makes each of them panels stand out, and that's totally unacceptable to me. It's not going to be a showpiece. You could hide it under things, but that isn't the way to go, really. So that's the far wall, totally wrecked, as you can see. So we'll move around now to the far end gable. Now, far end gable, and looking at it, it's worse than what I thought it was actually, but there you go. Excuse me. Now, to start with, I've turned this panel up the wrong way, but I've then put this one in to suit that one. But when I've got to this side, I've turned this panel round the right way, and then I've created a dry joint, if you can see, all the way down, right the way down the building to the bottom. And I've done exactly the same at the bottom here as well. It's noticeable, but not too noticeable. Could you get away with that? You could probably get away with that bit there, but it suddenly makes this little panel here stand out because everything else is wrong. And it's like the far side. It's not acceptable because at the end of the day, we want a showpiece. Even if you don't show it, you still want it to be as correct as possible. Well, I do anyway. So, what is the answer to my stupid mistakes? Well, I've already rebuilt this from scratch. We will look at that at the end, but I'll just run through a few of the things that I've put in place for myself so this don't happen again in the future. Now, what's the solution to stop me from messing up? It's a very, very simple solution. I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. Normally I assemble my panels face down. There is a little bit of logic to the reason why I assemble the panels face down. It's because this is a nice flat surface, this is a nice flat surface, the face of it, and if there's any unevenness it comes out at the back, which you can rub a sanding stick over or something like that just to take that little bit off. But it doesn't allow you to see what you're actually doing with your brick joints. So, simple solution, we'll just start assembling face up like so. That way you can see exactly what's going on with all your bricks, and you can see if you've got them round the wrong way. If you put it in round the wrong way, you can see that you've got a problem, and just dry fitting everything. So that is my solution to it, a very, very easy one. The one thing I will say though is with these panels you do have a top, and like I said, you do have a bottom. Now it doesn't really matter in which way you actually start. It doesn't matter if the cement course is facing down or the brick course is facing down, but whichever way you start, you must continue on right the way through your build doing it that way, because if not, then you get your panels upside down. So that's my very, very easy solution to my little mishap, well, my embarrassment, should I say. But there is another little thing that's niggling as well on these panels, and it's on the corners. And what I'll do, we'll go up and we'll just take a quick look, and I'll run through a little solution I've got for that as well. Now what we're looking at is a panel. I'll take my arm out of the light. Is two panels that are joined. They're the correct orientation, but the corners of the bricks are starting to round, which doesn't help the actual join. This is now caused by a pigment buildup in the mould, and what is happening, I'm not cleaning the mould 100% between cures, and we're actually getting a pigment buildup. which I will show you now on one of the moulds what I mean. Now, English Bond mould, just been turned out, great example to show you. Now, I've done my normal process of putting pigment directly into the mould and casting on top of it. Now, I've been finding that the pigment is starting to build up into the corners, and if you don't clean your mould 100% between cures, you get a build-up. This build-up makes the edges of the brick, especially on the teeth, just rounded that little bit, and when you actually come to fit them together and grout it up, that roundness just picks a bit more grout up, and it just makes the seam just stand out a little tiny bit. So I've got a solution in mind, which we'll go up to the bench and we'll have a quick look. So what am I going to do about the pigment build-up in the moulds? Very simple. I'm going to start putting pigment into the moulds. Simple as that. Now, we still have to colour the moulds. Well, actual parts, should I say. Now, I've been looking at this for a while because it's starting to work out quite expensive, because I do produce a lot of panels and blocks and bits and pieces. And in front of you, we got 2 pots of the Vallejo pigment, which roughly work out, well, it depends where you buy them. They're about £3, £3.50 each, up to £4, and some of the other pigments are even more expensive. And it is costing me quite a bit, and I was looking down other lines to get pigments from other places, and it was mentioned to me a long time ago that somebody actually used brick dye, and that's what I've actually changed to, is cement dye. Now, that nice big large 1 kilo tub of red brick dye, that cost me £6, would you believe? And it is just as good. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's just as good as the pigment. Well, to be honest with you, it even says it's a pigment anyway. Now, I've been running quite a few tests. I've been doing quite a few things. I've been using it on different bits and pieces to see how it comes out. The panels, they actually come out really nice. Now, like I say, I will be doing a separate video altogether explaining everything and how I'm doing it. I'm more than happy with the result, and also I'm happy with the money that I'm actually saving, because I am saving a great deal of money. You know, I'm buying probably 20 of these damn things, and I need to buy one of those, and one of those is the price of 2 of those, so it's happy days. So I'm not happy with the way they come out the moulds, because they leave the moulds clean. I'm not putting no pigment in it, and I'm happy all round. And that happy that I've actually used the panels that I've made to do the rebuild. So we'll move on to the rebuild, and then, well, we can go from there. Right, this is the rebuild. There's not much difference between the rebuild and the other one. It's been built exactly the same way. I haven't changed anything. Well, there is 2 things that are different on this. The first thing is that there's no nasty gaps. All the brickwork is nice and neat and tidy. The second thing is I actually put a thicker frame on the door, because we had the issue of it falling apart. And also, as a suggestion from one of my viewers, suggested using some very thin card and PVA-ing it over the joint, which I did this time, and it works extremely well, which I will probably be using that in the future. As for the gentleman's name, I can't remember, but it will appear on the bottom of the screen. So thank you for that. Everything else has been done. It's all up to the same level as the last one. Unfortunately, we're not going to go any further with it on this video. Like I say, we're well over half an hour. But as you can see, it's all nice and clean. There's no nasty gaps, and the brickwork I'm quite happy with the brickwork. Also, what I've done, I've tagged some pictures on to the end of this video, some befores and afters, so you can actually see the mess it was and what it looks like now. And I think that's just about it. Until next time. Oh, no, there's not. Somebody asked me for a list of materials. Another gentleman I can't remember the name of, but we'll put his name on the bottom of the screen. And it's a very good idea because he's ordering offline and he wanted to know the amounts that I were using. So what I should be doing from now on is I will be putting a list of what materials I use in the build as I go along. So there will be a big list consisting of all the balsa wood. I will do it in the amount of lengths that I actually used. Then you can calculate up, because I do know some line places do it in 250, 500, and you can actually get it in 900 in lengths. So I will do it on what I've actually used, how many lengths, and then you can calculate up from there how many lengths you actually need to order in. So that is about it. And when we come back on the next video, we will be getting on with the stairs, we will be getting it tiled, and maybe even a bit more weathering. Until then, all I can say is thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.